Let's bring you this now. 4 people have died in a fire in Jeppestown in Johannesburg this morning. 3 others were injured in a blaze. Firefighters responded to a call from the community and found a 3-story building engulfed by fire when they arrived. The cause of the incident is being investigated. Addressing the media at the scene, the newly appointed City of Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero expressed his frustrations with hijacked buildings in the city. Morero says the city has reached out to the national government to help in dealing with the scourge. And Dr. Mgcini Tshwaku, who's the MMC for Public Safety in the City of Johannesburg, now joins us to unpack this further. MMC, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Perhaps give us some of the information you have on the building in question. Who owns the building, and is the evidence that it was started by illegal connections conclusive?
Well, thank you very much, Oliver, and then also good evening to your listeners, to your viewers at home. Yes, well, the building is an abandoned building. It was built about 2 to 3 years back. So the owner is not being found as yet. Now, currently, is that there's the investigations from the EMS. It seems as if they are pointing in that direction, but the chief investigator of fire, they are busy right now to speak. We should be having a report for you actually tomorrow, but it actually leads into that. So this was an old warehouse, by the way. So what happens is that it was hijacked, and then they built all the shacks inside, and also they built some of the buildings. There were buildings that were built inside that warehouse as well. So yeah, so this is what we, so far amongst ourselves. But you know that. We've raised the issue. Remember last year when I was deployed by the Economic Freedom Fighters, we ran a campaign called Manje Namhlanje. It was doing the inspection of abandoned buildings and the bad buildings. And then many of those buildings have been closed by the EMS. We've even indicated from the leadership that these buildings, they need to be shut down. But the problem that we're having right now, or the issue that's going to be sorted out by them, because there's a sub-mayoral committee that has been looking into this issue, is to say, when you have the people that are staying there, where do you take them? It's just only.
Before we get into that detail, MMC, perhaps to ask this question, did the City of Johannesburg know about this very specific abandoned building and that there was an informal settlement, quite literally, erected inside of this building?
So this one here, what I'm getting from the EMS is that it was an old warehouse that abandoned and then left, handed over to the city. And then from there is that the people occupied it. And then after that, I think there's more than a check if there's any court order, because the guys are still checking in terms of the information. We're also going into our archives as well, because we've done an audit of 6,500. So I said with immediate effect, let's go to our archives and check that if this one we have actually closed it. So by tomorrow we should be having everything, because we're going through all the bad buildings within the city. We've done these investigations, and we've got 6,500 of them, which in the database that we've actually checked. So I said to them, please check if this one we've done the investigation, and also if we were aware in terms of if there are people that were actually there. So investigation.
MMC, your office and administration undertook 2 years ago to undertake a audit of all the buildings in the City of Johannesburg, particularly those owned by the City of Johannesburg, to determine how many of them are hijacked, how many of them have been abandoned, and how many of them belong to the City of Johannesburg. That level of information should be at your fingertips by now.
No, we actually have, this one was an abandoned warehouse, okay? And then, but I'm just saying that for this specific one, we just want to get in because remember this thing happened at midnight, like 1 o'clock. So the guys are busy around the clock. We're getting to our archive so that we can give you the information which is clear. We've done that. We even had a sub-mayoral committee that was led by the mayor in terms of how are we going to deal with that. The only issue that, or maybe what the mayor is going to be dealing with now with MMC Mabaso, is the issue of taking people out from the bad buildings and take them out into the transit accommodation. That is the only thing. Most of the buildings in town that we've done, they've actually been closed by the EMS. But when you close them, you must know that the law says that you can't just take them out on the street. You need to take them to a different place. That is the problem. That's why the mayor is saying that he's going to ask the intervention of the government. The government has a grant that is allocated for the relocation of the people. So that grant must come with immediate effect so that all the building that has been closed by the EMS, people must be evacuated with immediate effect. That's what he was saying.
Less than 4 months ago, by the way, there was a protest to the office of the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, very specifically by those put in transitional accommodation by the city following the Marshalltown fire. What they complained was that the accommodation was not humane, that they were not being provided with services such as water and electricity, and more importantly, and this is where it is an indictment on the city, that they had been promised that they would be relocated into permanent accommodation long ago, but they still have not been moved into it. Some of their children have still not been able to go back to school as a result of this and not being able to access things like ID documents. What guarantee do we have this time around that the grant that you're now activating will be a grant that puts people in humane transitional accommodation where they actually access things like water and electricity?
I think that is a question directed into the human settlement, because it is actually their competence on their side. But I know that there are transit accommodation that were built, that are available, right now. So the mayor and MMC Mabaso should be looking into that. And then because we're saying that these bad buildings must be converted into affordable accommodation. So I think that the mayor, the MMC Mabaso, these are the things that they should be looking at, because MMC Mabaso, he just been sworn in last week. So I think that with the mayor himself, they need to look into those things. There are transit accommodation already, as I said. So some of those people, they can be taken there so that they are able to, to get a proper place. Look, the place is a temporal place. And that, if I'm not mistaken, there is some basic services. Of course, I think that there was issues of lights and everything like that. But on the that is the function of the human settlement side, because what we did, Tina, in the JMPD side and in the public safety, say because we didn't want people, there was no space within the city, we gave them our pound. We just say, look, take this pound. We've lost a lot of, revenue. We know that humanity is more than that. So we gave them our pound. So I think that MMC Mabaso and the mayor, they'll be looking into that to ensure that people are relocated. Look, Oliver, the issue here is that I think that the mayor is correct to saying that let us get the government to have that money for the transit accommodation. You can clean the city, to be honest with you. There are many relocation orders, which are there, a lot of them. You can take Venincourt, Casamia, all of them, Florence, because tomorrow I'm seeing the people of Florence as well. Because Florence as well, remember, there were kids that were banned, I think about 2 years ago. So I'm going to see them again so that, so the problem or the thing that we need to sort out, the mayor and the MMC for human settlement, of which I believe that they will be sorting it out, and they said it's calling for the government, is just to get the people an alternative accommodation. Then we will be fine.
MMC, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it. That is MMC Tshwaku, who is the MMC of Public Safety in the city of Johannesburg.